Best conference in college football, so who is the best of the best? Welcome to the Voice of College Football SEC Power Rankings after Week 8. Please like the video, share the videos out on social media, and subscribe. Hit that bell for the notifications to know when we go live. Worst team in the SEC is the worst team in the SEC and will forevermore be the worst team in the SEC. Vandy, almost! 25 consecutive losses for the Vandy Commodores, but they came back from 17-0 down against Mizzou. They scored a touchdown. Did you see the play by C.J. Taylor, who leaped over a would-be blocker en route to the quarterback, strip sack, touchdown for Vandy? Then they went deep for the 80-yard touchdown, got to within 3, almost pulled off the win, didn't get it done, and Vandy loses to maintain the 14th position in our SEC Power Rankings. The team that they lost to, Mizzou, finally found somebody that they could beat after 3 excruciating tough losses against Auburn, against Florida, and against, of course, Georgia, a game they could have won and led just about wire to wire in Columbia. But Mizzou downs Vandy to get to 1-3 in the SEC, so they finally get it done. In our 12th position is just a flat-out mediocre Auburn team. This is not the Auburn that we're used to seeing under Gus Malzahn and previous head coaches. Auburn defense is littered with NFL players. Mediocre players, mediocre team all over the place, except one Tank Bigsby, who hit up Ole Miss the last time the Tigers took the field against Ole Miss for a $179, and Auburn takes on Arkansas coming up this weekend. At number 11, we've got Florida at 1-3 in the SEC. Everybody looks at Anthony Richardson as the key to every game for the Florida Gators, including this big matchup coming up against Georgia. But let's consider the Florida defense. They made the LSU offense look good, and they've pretty much given birth to the LSU offense exploding. The Gators are 106th in the nation in total defense. The Gators are only 4-3, taking on Georgia coming up this weekend. At number 10, the most disappointing team possibly in college football. They were ranked in the AP top 10 to start the season at number 7. They could have lost to Miami. They could have lost to Arkansas as well. They were lucky to escape those games. Jimbo Fisher and Texas A&M at just 3-4. Lousy season for Texas A&M. They take on Ole Miss coming up this weekend. In the number 9 position, finally getting healthy both physically, mentally, and emotionally, and in the win column, Arkansas after 3 consecutive tough losses in various ways to Alabama, Texas A&M, and against Mississippi State without K.J. Jefferson in one of those games against the Bulldogs. K.J. went off for 367 through the air, 5 touchdowns. Rocket Sanders a $175 against the Cougars, and Arkansas comes back to play Auburn on the Plains after finally getting a win at 4-3 in our number 9 team in the SEC. At number 8, a team that looked really good for a number of weeks. Now they've lost to Kentucky on the road, came back and blasted by Alabama, had to score in the final play of the game just to avert a shutout against the Tide, and that's, of course, Mississippi State. Now 5-3, 2-3 in the SEC. We assume that this team has offense all over the place, right? It's Mike Leach, it's the air raid, it's Will Rogers. The stats look good in the passing game. Mississippi State is 75th in the nation in yards per play, number 62 in total offense. Mississippi State struggling right now, and they've got the week off before they take on the Auburn Tigers on November 5th. At number 7 in our SEC Power Rankings, and of course, please hit the like button and subscribe right here at the Voice of College Football. Kentucky. The Cats are 5-2, 2-2 in the SEC, and they are oh so close to having an unblemished record. They lost late to Ole Miss, and of course, they did not have Will Levis in their loss to South Carolina. The Kentucky Wildcats, maybe with a shot to take down mighty Tennessee coming up this weekend in Knoxville. In our number 6 position, we've got a high-riding team, a team that has come out of nowhere as the comeback team in the SEC, and that is South Carolina. 2 early season losses were ugly. They lost to Arkansas in a game that was not as close as the 44-30 final score, and of course, just like everybody else pretty much, blasted by Georgia 48-7. But since South Carolina with a big win against Kentucky on the road, and then this past weekend, the big Xavier Leggett kickoff return to open the game and get Williams-Brice Stadium rocking. South Carolina's our number 6 team in the SEC, and they've got a chance with some marginal opponents, starting with Mizzou, to make some hay and possibly get to 8-2 pretty quick. But let's not jump the gun. The Gamecocks are at 5-2 and our number 6 team in the SEC Power Rankings. All right, at the number 5 position, a big clunker for Ole Miss. Undefeated going to Death Valley. They got out to a 17-3 lead and then outscored by the Tigers 42-3. The run game and the defense did not travel for Ole Miss in this one at all. Now they've got a big date coming up on the road against Texas A&M. Ole Miss, our number 5 team in the SEC, at 3-1 in the conference. Our number 4 team is riding high, looking better by the week. The hottest team in college football, possibly, the LSU Tigers. Lost the opener in dramatic fashion to Florida State. Also lost to Tennessee, a second half in which they got blown away by the Vols in the third quarter. But otherwise, LSU is not some of the best wins in the country. They've knocked off Ole Miss, Mississippi State, Auburn, and Florida. Jaden Daniels, 11 touchdowns in the past 2 games. They have pulled the offense together. They blitzed Florida for 45, and they looked great again in blasting Mississippi with 45 points. What an effort by LSU, and they control their own destiny in the division. Just 1 loss in the SEC, with Alabama coming up in 2 weeks. Our number 4 team in the SEC, LSU. Our voice of college football SEC power ranking stops at number 3 in Alabama. 7-1, 4-1 in the SEC. Just like last year, they lost to Texas A&M on the road, came back to take on Mississippi State, and blasted the Bulldogs 49-9. This Bama team would have none of it again. They lose a heartbreaker in Knoxville against Tennessee, 52-49 at the gun. They come back to Tuscaloosa, take on Mississippi State, and poor Mississippi State and Mike Leach blasted 30-6. Gave up a touchdown on the final play of the game. Bama's loaded. They're great. They'll make a championship run, we would expect, but LSU's coming up in 2 weeks. Bama's got a bye before the Bayou Bengals and a date in Death Valley. Our final 2 teams in the SEC are from the Eastern Division. Is the East better than the West? We'll have to size that up sometime soon. The Georgia Bulldogs would like to think so. They've got a date with Tennessee coming up, but first it's Florida coming up this weekend after a mid-season slump in which the Bulldogs looked human against Kent State and Mizzou. They're back at it and blasting teams week after week, i.e. Auburn and Vandy. Top 5 defense in the nation once again. Georgia's our number 2 team in the SEC, giving way to number 1. And these 2 teams, when we talk Tennessee and Georgia, have the 2 most impressive wins in college football this season for these reasons. For Georgia, they have the most dominant win against the most quality opponent. So the best combination win of quality opponent and dominance when they blasted Oregon 49-3. For Tennessee, in my book, the most impressive or the most important or best opponent to be defeated. Let's say it that way. They beat Bama 52-49. The Vols might have the most prolific offense in the entire nation, including Ohio State. They are loaded. Hendon Hooker, at this point, is my Heisman favorite. He's my Heisman pick. How about the defense, though? The defense is number 104 in the nation. Got to get a little bit better. They'll be challenged this week at home against Will Levis and Chris Rodriguez. Rodriguez is on fire, rushing for tons of yardage, and the Vol defense will be tested. And the Tennessee offense, though 1 or 2 in the nation, depending on your metric. Number 14 is Kentucky's defense. So quite a matchup coming up in Knoxville. Tennessee's a 12-point favorite taking on the Kentucky Wildcats. Our SEC power rankings here at the Voice of College Football, 1 through 14, look like this. Tennessee and Georgia. Wow, look at the East. Bama at 3, LSU at 4, Ole Miss at 5. Then it goes South Carolina, Kentucky, Mississippi State, and Arkansas. Texas A&M, the disappointment of the year, followed by Florida, Auburn, Mizzou, and poor Vandy. Please like the video, share the videos out on social media, subscribe right here at the Voice of College Football. Give me a call. We go live with our call-in show Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday night right here at the Voice of College Football.